Good morning, everyone. All people said amen. We'll address that in a second. Welcome to this service of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Grand Traverse. Welcome to those of you joining us via live stream. I'm Dave Newhouse on your Sunday Services Committee. At UUCGT, we welcome people of every background, every identity, every age, especially families with young children. As spiritual people, we practice the art of staying curious. Even when things at times feel a little uncomfortable, we're building a culture of inclusion and welcome as a community. And this includes joyful sounds from little ones and people that don't want to be quiet before they get in here. Whether you're here in the sanctuary or joining us online, whether it's your first time or your 100th, we're glad you're with us. Now, if you are visiting and you're comfortable doing so, we invite you to stand and introduce yourself. We'd love to get to know you. Chris Lautz will bring you a microphone. You can speak into it and say who you are, where you're from, why you're here. Nobody knew. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, everybody, except those online, go. Aha.
Yeah, I'm Patrick Lydon. I'm here with my wife. She doesn't want to stand. Her name is Anita, but anyway, we're just new to Traverse City. We've been here now, actually 5 months today.
Welcome, Patrick.
And we're from Rapid City, South Dakota. So if you know anything about South Dakota, you may know why we're here. Anyway, now, you have water. And that is who I am.
Okay, well, everyone is welcome after the service to join us for coffee in the social hall. If you're new or visiting, a yellow cup will introduce you as someone we want to get to know, and we'll talk to you then. Okay. Now, later in the service, we'll share joys and concerns of our community. I know you're invited to write your cares or concerns on the book to my right, your left. And later in the service, Carl Kynath will read those as part of the congregational care team. You're also welcome to light a candle to commemorate some joy or concern in your life that you don't want to speak necessarily. Now, today, we're exploring the possibilities of alternative intelligence. This is not artificial intelligence, so please don't run screaming from the room. This talks about compassion for our fellow beings on Earth, in our galaxy, or the universe. Our question today is, and I'd like you to ponder, are these intelligences rooted in self-preservation, in mutual cooperation, or something entirely different? This is for you Hitchhiker's Guide fans. What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? A few of your UUCGT members will explore the intelligence of animals, of plants, and other worlds, and we hope to expand our own levels of awareness and compassion. So please do come along. Now, in the week ahead, you have an insert in your bullet, it's order of service. Okay, and that will key you to a whole lot of stuff that's happening. We don't have to speak it here, you can read it. Do be aware that on the back side of that insert are the words to Fuente d'Amor that we will be singing for Spirit of Life afterward. Now, among the announcements, this is Minister Appreciation Month. So if you feel so moved, a card sent to Alex would be deeply appreciated, and I think he would like to know how much we love and admire him. If you ordered a mission t-shirt, like these brilliant yellow things here, they are ready for you in the office. So stop by, call Jackie, find out a good time to come pick yours up. Now, this Friday, the 17th at 4:30 p.m., there will be a sign-making party, and I've heard hints of pizza, ahead of the No Kings March, which will be noon to 2. 5? Not 4:30, 5. Okay. We're backing off. 5 p.m. Friday. Get those posters made, get all fired up to be out there at the Civic Center at noon Saturday. No kings. The only monarch we love flies. Anyway. There is a sign up with the social justice table in the social hall. Now, Reverend Alex says, we're looking for volunteers to help with our fall fundraiser. This year, we have a $10,000 matching gift in our honor of Marcia Billinger. So if you'd like to help, or if you'd like to offer a matching gift yourself, please contact Dr. Reverend Alex. Thanks in advance because we can use a successful fundraiser. So as we begin our service this morning, please set aside the busyness of daily life, silence your phones, electronic devices, phasers, so we can be fully present with one another. So let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Josh Leica. I'm a member here at UUCGT, and today I'm going to do a reading from Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet by Thich Nhat Hanh. This is from a section titled Life Has No Limits. Many of us are caught in a distinction between sentient or animate beings and non-sentient or inanimate matter. Yet the science of evolution tells us we have not only human and animal ancestors, but also mineral ancestors. To separate out living beings from the inanimate world and make a divide between them is incorrect. We are made of non-sentient elements, the speck of dust, the elementary particle, the quark. They are us, and we are them. We need to transcend the notions of body and mind, matter and spirit, consciousness and the material world. They are a big obstacle. Scientists of our time have discovered that even photons and electrons have their own intelligence. It is no less than consciousness. They are not inert and lifeless. A kernel of corn has its own way of knowing. You just plant it in the soil, and within 10 days it knows how to sprout and go on to become a towering maize plant with leaves, flowers, and cobs. The so-called inanimate things are not so inanimate. They are very alive. You can also translate the term living beings here as mortals. We discriminate not only between living and inanimate, but also between what is living or mortal and what is holy or immortal. We have a tendency to discriminate between living beings and holy beings. The meditation here is to look into yourself deeply and realize that you are made of non-you elements, including the element of holiness. We must remove the notion of a living being as different from a non-living being or an enlightened holy being, because that notion creates so much division, discrimination, and suffering. When we look at the earth in the light of this insight, we don't see the planet as inert matter, but as a sacred reality that we are also a part of. Seeing in this way, our attitude toward the planet will change. We'll be able to walk with steps of love and respect on the earth, and we'll realize our great capacity to help.
As we light the chalice this morning, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, please join me in reading our covenant words found on the back of your order of service. I am accountable for me, you're accountable for you. In community, we hold each other through joy and conflict. We openly welcome all as we respond to the needs of the world. And now we sound the singing bowl to enter a time of stillness.
Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing our new virtual hymn of the month for the month of October, Be Still and Breathe. This is by Loretta Notareshi, and I had the opportunity to meet her at my conference this past summer. Be still and breathe. Be still and be.
My name is Keith Anderson, and I am a member of UUCGT. And for those of you who don't know me or who weren't present the last time I was involved in a Sunday service, I'm a huge nerd. So when Dan asked me to give a reflection for this service, the term alternative intelligence immediately, to me, evoked thoughts of aliens, as in beings from another planet. The problem is that I've never met one, at least that I know of. Although I have some suspicions about a couple of the ones that came through when I worked in the emergency department, but that's for another day. Yeah. Instead, I have to turn to imaginary aliens. I've been a science fiction reader ever since I first picked up Have Spacesuit Will Travel by Robert Heinlein in the 5th grade. I've been reading, watching, and thinking about imaginary aliens pretty much ever since then. Here's the thing. All those aliens, they were imagined by humans. So there's the admittedly somewhat controversial theory called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which says that the language someone speaks affects their thought processes. That hypothesis comes in two flavors. There's the weak version and the strong version. The strong version says that language determines thought, and that therefore language sets limits on thought and restricts thought. That version has largely fallen out of favor since about World War II. There is, however, the weaker version, which says that language influences thought without actually limiting or restricting them. That version actually does have some evidence supporting it, but I'm not going to go into a lot of details there because I'm not a linguist and it's really easy to get lost in the weeds. Suffice it to say that those theories, however, have been used as a tool of colonization and oppression because, of course, it has. I think, though, when we're thinking about aliens, that there's a sort of larger version of the hypothesis here. Most of the aliens that we think of are fundamentally human beings with human wants, human needs, desires, because we're the ones thinking them up. And we're using human languages to do that. If you think about the aliens you see in popular media, even if they don't look basically humanoid, they're still people. You know, basically humans in funny outfits and makeup. We have a really hard time thinking about things that do not think the way we do. Different is difficult. And part of that is because as a survival trait, xenophobia is actually quite useful, right? Fear and mistrust of the unknown kept our ancestors alive. As a result, humanity tends to divide groups into us and them. We are strong and smart and good, while they, I don't know, they dress funny and they talk weird. I don't trust them. This is where it can get dangerous because it's very easy to fall into a trap of, well, we are great, noble, and just, and we speak this language. So if you speak any other language, you must be weak and base and dishonorable. That reasoning has been used repeatedly when colonizers would move in and systematically suppress native languages. It's happened with Native Americans, Indigenous Australians, the Ainu people of Japan, the Irish. The list is long and shameful. But let's continue this train of thought about the way we think. Humans are, to my mind anyway, somewhat egotistical or maybe humanocentric, if that's a word. We compare other forms of intelligence to ourselves, placing our intelligence at the top, the mind that all others are compared to. The logic goes like this: I've tamed fire, built cities, gone to the moon, and I'm smart. So if you haven't tamed fire, built cities, and gone to the moon, you must be some kind of a dummy. The old saying, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. And if you haven't expressed that thought, then you must not be as much as I am. So going back to that Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, I first learned about that when I read the novella The Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang. It was also made into a movie called Arrival. I highly recommend them both. They're fantastic. In that story, aliens come to Earth and begin teaching us their language. And their language is so complex that it actually alters the speaker's perceptions of reality. This leads to a discussion of predetermination. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending, but I kind of have to make a point. So if you really don't like spoilers, stick your fingers in your ears or something. I'll wave when I'm done. The main character of the story is a linguist, and she learns the language of the aliens. The aliens are called the heptapods because they have 7 legs. And in learning the language heptapod B, it enables her to move beyond seeing time as linear, and so she's also able to start seeing events that will happen in the future. This is where the concept of free will comes in, because if you already know what will occur, then the future is fixed and will have happened, and so we can't change it. So do we have any free will in that case? So now for the spoilery part. The linguist knows that she will have a family and that a tragedy will befall that family. I won't go into details about the nature of that. This is where the UU part comes in, if you're wondering. Does she try to prevent that tragedy from happening and change a future she's already seen? Or does she accept that the relationship she has with that family, that is the journey together, even if it's limited, will be the important part? Take your figures up. We have a limited time in this existence. Whether there is something that comes after this or not, the truth is that all relationships that we have will either end or change drastically along the way. I think we all know that at some level. It would behoove us, therefore, to make the most of those relationships before they end. As that Claudia Schmidt song we sang, 2 weeks ago now, While I Live? While I live, I will love. While I love, I will live. Thank you.
The offering now is an intelligent choice that we make to sustain a community that gathers to consider spirituality and concepts such as this, alien intelligence. Putting the U in Universalist here, aren't we? This is what we do. So this is what we do. Well, that's what we do. We rely on the generosity and commitment of those who find meaning here, keeping the building dry and clean, sustaining our staff, and maintaining our presence in the community. Today, ushers will pass baskets with 2 sides. One side supports the life and mission of the congregation. The other supports the needs of the community, including local food programs, shelters, and those who are most vulnerable. Our offerings truly reflect our shared UU values in action. You can also give using these options that are mentioned on the screen here for those online. We now gratefully receive this morning's offering.
bet you can. All life's a stage. Just remember this, okay? Now, when we talk about plant intelligences, it's some of those intelligences that are not our own, and that's the meaning of alternative. So, as you are disheartened as I am, trying to find signs of intelligent life on Earth, especially in Washington, so I trust that these reflections we bring to you today give you hope that compassionate intelligence does exist beyond our own. Now, I'm a retired ecologist and a research scientist, and this will show as we go along here, but I appreciate Ann Stevenson's gift to us of Peter Wohleben's Hidden Life of Trees. Now, this book has drawn me down the mycelial pathways to what I think is a healthier, better, deeper understanding of life underground as well as around us. You see in front, Dr. Suzanne Chimard spent 20 years developing her book, Finding the Mother Tree, Discovering the Wisdom, Intelligence of the Forest. And she suggests that we look around us for examples of intelligence in forests, the trees, the plants, the fungi, and the lichens that compose them. These complex circles of life demonstrate interdependence, cooperation, and kindness. They can open our awareness without hallucinogenic chemicals. Now, did any of you hear Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, when she was here at the Writers Series and talked about her new book, The Service Berry? She describes the interactions between species based on sharing gifts. Altruism, kin selection, mutual assistance or defense, and shared survival. Now, the idea of alternative or intelligence other than our own in forests refers to the ways that plants exhibit complex behaviors and adaptations that might be considered intelligent, even though they don't have brains as we do. Okay? Plants exhibit remarkable abilities with intelligence different from humans and based on different mechanisms. So how did forests and plants develop intelligence? Well, it may have begun with fungi. And unfortunately, Alex stole my fungus joke a month ago, but anyway. Fungi are genetically more closely related to animals than to plants. They have a skin more like animals. Imagine strands of fungal material sloshing about in the primordial soup of early oceans, washing up on ancient shores, mingling together. They decided to migrate onto drier land about 500 million years ago from shores to mountaintops. Now, in fact, fungi might have dominated the world 250 million years ago with over 5 million species, and who's counting? Fungi, not white mice, whatever you believe, may have created the deep thought supercomputer that we call Earth, pondering the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. This is for you Hitchhiker's Guide folks, anyway. So how do we know that forests possess intelligence? Well, research from many converging lines shows that plants perceive and they respond to their environment. Research into their awareness reveals the incredible ways plants sense their environment. Plants don't see as we do, but they can detect many forms of light, from ultraviolet to infrared. The sunflowers and compass plants that the Sacred Grounds Committee planted at our entry turn toward the sunlight as the day changes, maximizing the energy they receive for photosynthesis. Pretty smart, eh? Better than many solar panels. Anyway, researchers have demonstrated that plants hear both nearby predators and pollinators. So plants exposed to the sound of caterpillars munching on leaves respond by producing the same defense chemicals they would release if they themselves were being nibbled upon. Okay. Now, plants smell chemicals. They smell scents and even sweat-like pheromones, but by specialized receptors that they have to find nutrients in the soil and to avoid rooting near toxic substances so they can avoid them. When you see a sensitive plant, the Mimosa pudica, their specialized leaves respond to touch. They fold inward when they're touched to avoid being damaged. A Venus flytrap snaps shut to catch unsuspecting insects within his modified leaves. They have minuscule, tiny little trigger hairs in there, and whenever an insect gets in there and he touches two hairs at the same time, leaf closes and digestion begins. So plants also communicate with both plants and other organisms. They influence the behavior of their neighbors, the insects and animals around them, by chemical and electrical signaling, by volatile organic compounds, and even airborne W waves that transmit cries of alarm when trees are harmed. You cut down one tree in a black ash forest, and they all know it, and they're all screaming at you. And they grow thorns, by the way. So, partnering with fungal mycelia, tree roots form large mycorrhizal networks with each other, so nearly every tree in a forest is connected to a wood wide web. Trees pass carbon, nutrients, water, and even alarm signals to each other along this network. They detect their offspring, and they caringly send nutrients and water to them to assure their survival, but they also send it to their neighbors who are in need. When beetle larvae eat goldenrod leaves, the plant emits a chemical that says, "I don't taste good, I'm bad." It may or may not deter the insect, but those volatile organic compounds are also picked up by their neighbors, prompting them to trigger their own defenses against the beetle larvae, even before they get there. Now, plants solve problems based on information they get from the environment, and they have a goal. Plants are highly attuned to their environment, and they constantly react in cooperative and compassionate ways. They watch out for friends, they watch out for foes, they reach out for family, and they build community. Now, I've heard forest ecologist Chris Mazer in the Pacific Northwest describing how fungi in the forest sugarcoat their skin and their spores. Kids introduced this to spores, that was good. So that redback voles come and nibble on them and then distribute little packets of fertilizer-encased seeds in their pooperoonies. So just to kind of wrap this plant intelligence up, naturalist Aldo Leopold, one of my heroes, in a Sand County Almanac reminds us that everything is connected to everything else. And that's central to his concept of a land ethic. He emphasized that all elements of nature are interdependent, form an intricate web of relationships that must be respected for ecological health and for human well-being. W.A. Law in The Compassion of Trees agrees that true intelligence is displayed in how we honor, respect, and care for everything that is connected in nature. And Albert Einstein, no slouch, said, "Kindness is the highest form of intelligence." So we would do well to listen carefully for the hum of life and connection in our forests and embrace their intelligence as original peoples have. So later in the service, as we stand and clasp hands, like mycorrhizae linking an entire forest, we mimic a fairy ring of fungi, sharing our compassion, sharing our hopes, and supporting each other. We pledge ourselves to protect the web of life in and on Earth, our only physical home. Now, I'm indebted to Dan and Christine Keefe for their ideas and suggestions that helped frame this part of today's service. And if you like this approach to science and spirituality that we're doing today, we can make it a regular feature during Reverend Alex's sabbatical next year. Just leave a note in the online worship journal, and we'll see what we can do about that. Carl?
I'm Carl Kyneth, a member of the Congregational Care Team. It is our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to name and honor the joys and concerns that mark our lives, the milestones and moments of our lived experience. I will be sharing the joys and concerns that have been offered up for us to hold on our hearts as we are gathered today. If you have a joy or concern that's a bit too heavy to share, I invite you to reach out to Reverend Alex or to a member of our congregational care team. You can identify us by our purple ribbons on our name tags. You can also light a candle at any time during a service or honor your joys and concerns during the stone meditation, knowing that you are held in the loving hearts of this community. None of us is meant to travel life's journey alone. Okay. Max Oldbear says, remembering Indigenous Peoples Day. Dan Tholen shares, yesterday was my sister's 4th birthday. It has been 4 years since her successful stem cell transplant, and she is well. Now we have exactly the same blood type. Friends, as we continue with our times of joys and concerns, we now open our time for the stone meditation. As you feel moved, you're invited to come forward and take a stone and place it in the bowl of water in honoring the joy and concern you carry with you today. This is not a time for words, but a chance to bring what is on your heart into the circle of the community, trusting that it is held in love and care. As you feel ready, please come forward.
Would you please join me in singing our song of response, Spirit of Life? We'll sing it first in English and then in Spanish. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Oh,
In putting this service together today, my main intent was to include some discussion on other intelligences, obviously, including animal intelligence. But doing this, I realized that this is far more than can be addressed in just a few minutes. There's a question about other intelligences that I wanted to cover also. Such as that of the Creator, not the creation in Genesis, but whether there was intelligent design in the evolution that we now know occurred. For example, did some divine entity direct evolution at key points? And related to that, did they write this incredibly complex code that we call DNA? These are discussions for some future service. Another question, perhaps for future services, is if animals have a level of consciousness sufficient to exhibit compassion, that is, if they have the ability to empathize and to take action to benefit another, if this can occur across species, then there may exist deeper abilities to connect with each other and with the earth. And that should be explored. Again, ideas for future services. I hope that if anything you hear today or some of these ideas spark an interest, we have a lot of lay-led services coming up. So please speak to us as Dave just indicated. I encourage you to consider your experiences and whether you're willing to share. So before I talk now, I wanted to give just a brief definition of what is an animal. It's defined as creatures that have nerves and a stomach, right? There's probably more to it, but that's sufficient for what we need to know. The evolution of animals progressed from earliest corals and nematodes through various complexities, vertebrates, mammals, primates, and on into us, the hominids. Fortunately, animals are currently alive that resemble fossils that we can see, and resemble these fossils at various levels of complexity. These living animals can be studied for responses to challenges, their ability to learn and to accomplish simple tasks. One bit of evidence that we carry these memories of the first animals is what I learned is that traumatic shock to a neuron is remembered by that neuron. It's remembered in the nerve. Traumatic injury is retained by and in the nerves, as well as perhaps impressions in the brain. And this makes that shock very hard to remove. You can't think it away. Another important fact about the evolution of the human brain is that brains of all vertebrates contain the same basic structure, the same 4 sections of the brain with the same neural arrangement and with connections with the other parts of the brain and connections with the spinal cord. Primates and hominids have more extensive development in different parts of these brains, in the brain, particularly the ability to develop and capture and retain images, things that we see or things that we experience, and most importantly, to create images that we haven't experienced. That's one of the big evolutionary changes that we enjoy. But basically, all vertebrates think the same way, and as we get closer to mammals and primates, the similarities get stronger. We also have to remember that for much of life, even before animals, evolution is driven by competition, the need to find food and to avoid predators, eat and avoid being eaten. Humans today exist at a rare position in the history of animals in that we don't have to continually be aware of predators who will eat us. Nevertheless, food and fear were the prime motivators in the development of our intelligence. And this gives some basis to the understanding that fears are present everywhere. It underlies everything we do. And for many of us, that never goes away. But in looking at the evolution of intelligence, one key fact is the brain started to evolve a long time ago, and a long time after fungi and plants had pretty much taken over the seas and the ocean. Clearly, the seas and the land. Clearly, the fungi and plants had a big jump on developing intelligence and can be expected to be well ahead of us right now. It's encouraging to think that compassion across species is a fundamental part of that intelligence. The fact that a plant can transmit signals within the plant and without neurons demonstrates that there's means of communication that we don't understand. The theories have been suggested by quantum physics and in science fiction. A new novel by Dan Brown, don't worry, I have no spoilers here. This novel supposes a shared global consciousness that individuals can tap into under certain thrilling circumstances, or tap into accidentally, or maybe regularly if we can discover how. This shared consciousness could explain observable but unexplained mysteries such as extrasensory perception, out-of-body experiences, also navigation by flocks of birds or schools of fish who can move simultaneously at the same time very quickly. Flocks of birds do this also. It could also explain evidence of rapid transmission of signals in plants and other communication underlying the intelligence of the forest. Spiritual leaders have been telling us this throughout history of the spiritual pursuits. And the message resonates in the holy books as well as all the animist traditions. We are one. All that is, all that ever was, all that will ever be is out there. In the ether, or maybe it's in our hearts. We just need to find the links. So let us begin our search now with a moment of stillness.
Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn today, Rising Green, found in the Teal Hymnal 1068.
Where the stars forever
time, gather hands. Put your hands to say, don't touch. Either way. In the spirit of covenant, community, and commitment, go now in peace and grow in love. Give a little squeeze. Thank you.